Now we just wait for everything to catch up. No, you're not dreaming. This is a second live stream during the month, the week even. Um, I'm the Smoking Cheddar, but you probably already knew that. So they dropped an extra officer. I knew it was coming. Someone had mentioned it to me. I mean, if I'd have gone on the test server, I'd probably known about it in advance, but I never use my test server login. So we have a new Air Force officer, a fighter plane officer. He is a fighter plane and skills officer. Oh boy, this is going to be fun. So, as always, with these officer spotlights, we do the skills from tactical to awakened, left to right. We grade them 1 to 5, and at the end, we give them a overall score. And as always, that score doesn't necessarily reflect how useful that officer is, it's just a guideline. So, what we'll do is what we always do, we'll crack on with this. At the end, I'll do a summary and conclusion of the officer, maybe an officer pairing and a unit choice, perhaps. And if there's anyone in the live stream, I appreciate that it's probably Christmas right now, so there's probably no one going to be watching this because you guys aren't expecting me to do 2 in a week. Then yeah, we'll go from there. We'll do any extra questions at the end, should there be any. If you want to, of course, give me some. If not, then I'll just end the stream early and I will go play 6 Days in Fallujah and relive my worst nightmares. Um, Nighthawk, fighter plane skills. So let's have a quick look and see what we're working with, shall we, guys? The first skill is Hounding Hawk level 1. So this is a tactical skill that can pop off up to 900 coefficiency with a cruising speed reduction of 25%. And it reads, while this officer's fighter plane troop is in combat with an enemy troop every 4 seconds, it deals skill damage to the enemy damage coefficiency of up to 900 and has a 25% chance to reduce the enemy's cruising speed by 8% for 4 seconds. If this officer's troop HP is below 75%, then the skill damage of this coefficiency is increased by a further 15%. Basically, what we're saying here is we've got 3 things that this tactical skill can do off the bat. It's a 5. It's not, I'd not deem this a perfect 5. This is on the edge 5, but we're looking at dealing in 1 8 second cycle 1800 damage coefficiency. That's the bog standard. We've got a cruising speed reduction of 25%. It means if they're trying to get away from you, you can catch them. And if they've dealt damage to you and you are below 75% HP, then you are going to be dealing an additional 15% on top of that. That is delicious. That is absolute. That's going to be pushing each coefficiency hit just over or just under a no, just under a K. Just under a K. So you're going to be doing close to 2000 damage coefficiency in an 8 second cycle once you're below 75% health, which makes him very deadly in the air against any target whatsoever. We do like our skills officers, especially in the air. His second skill, which is damage intensity of this officer's troop, is increased by 12.5% and a damage resist by 12.5%. So I think this is just a 3. It's a bit higher than the standard 10-10, but it's a bit lower than some of the other ones we've seen recently. Damage intensity is going to be key for this unit, for his unit going forwards. So it's a 3. It's not terrible. I'm not unimpressed. It is what I would deem the bog standard for a trainable balance skill. Going into his third skill, Tenacious Tempest increases the officer skill boost of this troop by up to 13%. If the troop HP is below 75%, it's boosted by an extra 4, but that scales up to 40 and 15 respectively. That's phenomenal, because that means we're now dealing well over 1k. You're dealing more damage the less HP you have. This is going to encourage you to throw this unit into fights. I'm going to say this is a 5. We're going at a total of 55% bonus damage skill on top of that already 15. So you're looking at a total booster once you're below 75% of 70%, which is quite significant. Yeah, that's actually pretty huge. I'm not going to get the calculator out and run the numbers on that right now. If this was a video and I was doing it for a recording, I would, but I can't be bothered. This skill's going to be a 5, because even if you don't use this officer, that skill is brilliant. Skill boost. An additional stat that increases the skill damage dealt by officer skill, including tactical skills, passive skills, awakened skills, and conquest skills. The final effect of damage is determined by comparing the troop's skill boost and the target skill resilience. That's pretty high. I'm not going to lie, that's pretty high. Predator's Pounce. So this is his 4th skill. Increases the intercept of this troop's fighter by up to 30%. And more importantly, it reduces the fighter intercept resilience by 30%. So this is going to be a 5 as well. The reason I'm going to give for that, because I feel like I should justify anything that I give a 5 to, is that if you're going to increase the intercept, which is your initial damage on contact, if you're also able simultaneously to reduce their intercept bonus because it's matched at the same time when your fighter engages theirs, they're going to be dealing less damage and you're going to be dealing more. So that damage gap is going to be larger, which is going to give you more of an advantage going forwards into into damage output. That's going to be a 5 as well. Right, let's have a look at his awakened skill. When this officer's fighter plane troop attacks an enemy, it reduces the target damage resistance by 15% for 4 seconds, and if the target troop is slowed, it reduces the damage resistance by an extra 20%. An extra 20%. That's a 4. That's not quite a 5. Excuse me. That's not quite a 5, but that is definitely a 4. I'm not sure what I would have to see on there to qualify it as a 5. I mean, we're getting a 15% damage reduction. I suppose the only reason why I'm not going to give it a 5 is because we have other officers on the ground that do something similar, and that is applied over time while engaged. Golden Eagle, for example, his damage resistance is, I think it's ignore target damage resistance while engaging. So this one has a 4-second timer on it. Do excuse me there. And this is whenever the troop attacks. Well, hang on. Hang on a second. Whenever the troop attacks, that means that's going to be on pretty much constantly. No. That's not a 4. That's a 5. Which I believe... shit. What was it? Hang on. That was a 5, wasn't it? We scored that one a 5. We scored that one a 3. We scored that one a 5, I believe. We scored that one a 5, and we scored the last one a 5. That gives him a 4.6 out of 5. Really, he's only let down by his balance skill, but that I mean, if you'd done anything with that balance skill to make it more powerful, you would have just a ridiculously powerful officer in the sky. I mean, he is ridiculously powerful regardless, but doing anything else is just going to be making him unbearable, if I'm perfectly honest. um, so that really leads the question on to what fighter plane I'd put him on. Now you can see he's already in my lineup, but he's not actually really doing much. Just to give you guys a quick heads up, that's the fighter plane he's on. This is 8.0, obviously in silver 2. So he's currently at 5.91, no skill points, just a standard fighter versus my kitted out fighter of 15.6. Now, if I had to choose a unit to put him on, he's got a lot of skill damage, a hell of a lot of skill damage, and he's got a damage intercept resistance as well as a damage intercept increase. So, yeah, he'd be good on the Vanguard fighter with enhanced intercept. That would be really good. He'd be absolutely fantastic on this. But personally, I think this guy would be better on the Liberty fighter because it has a higher firepower than other camps. We're looking at dealing skill damage, excessive amounts of skill damage at that. And as a result, we're going to be absolutely pumping out damage in the sky. It's going to be crazy. Now, who would I pair him with? Well, there's only really one officer you can pair him with, and that's Bladewing. The reason for that is we're going to be double stacking the skill damage because obviously we have a damage coefficient of 1100 already here, and there's a 75% chance already to reduce the enemy target's cruising speed by an additional 50% for 4 seconds once he's awakened, and a 25% chance to deal damage to yourself. Now, that's important because we're looking at being able to reduce the target's cruising speed while simultaneously we're looking at being able to have slightly less HP. Now, if we use him with Blade Wing, we've got 2 abilities that reduce the target's cruising speed. Now, if that target cruising speed is reduced, we're getting an extra 20% damage resistance debuff on the target. And not to mention, he's got a 25% chance of deploying it, and he's got a 75% chance of deploying it. And that's every 4 seconds once the troop enters combat. It's going to deploy. It's going to deploy. And you're going to get that bonus 20%. So that means once both officers are awakened, you're going to get at minimum on the target a 35% damage reduction, damage resist reduction debuff on the target. That's huge. Plus, it's going to be slowed. It's not going to be able to get away from your fighter. So, would I put these two on a Liberty fighter over a interceptor? Yes, I would, because the higher firepower is going to lean into that higher skill shot damage output. That being said, I am running twin interceptors, and I think it's a good secondary because we do have damage intensity bonus, and we also have intercept buffs and intercept resilience. We've also got intensity and intercept. So the two combined, it's very 50-50. You could have Bladewing and Nighthawk on a Liberty. It would deal a lot more in a sustained fight through the skill damage. Or you could have them on a Interceptor. You could slow that target, and you could use the bonus intercept to create a massive gap on your opponent while applying debuffs. There's 2 different ways you could use that fighter. And obviously you can just dip in and out then with that intercept fighter. You can just dip in and out and there's nothing they can do. And once you're in that position, you've won the fight. If anyone who plays interceptors, you know what I'm talking about, especially if you micromanage them. You know that dipping in and out, especially in ongoing air battles, makes you absolutely lethal to enemy targets. So, um, yeah, I think I think you could definitely pair him with that. You could, I mean, at the moment he is paired with Sky Jockey, but neither of them have any statues, and that is going to change because obviously I am going to clear my officer backlog for the Navy. We're well on our way with him now, and obviously we've completed Tide Watcher. And once Rip Current is complete, my fighter squadron is going to be up and running, absolutely smashing it. Darkwing, nice. Yep, yeah. Play. He is. Darkwing is up there as well. He is going to get moved off of my main fighter though. He's getting moved off my main fighter. He's going with Sky Jockey because we're going to build a crit damage and we're going to build a slow, both of them working on intercept bonuses with a chance to proc both of those skills effectively as soon as they enter combat. So we're looking at building a very deadly combo. At the moment, we've got these two. They work pretty well together due to the intercept buffs that we get here, but it's not really that key for this build. It's more key for her build. She also has intercept buff that's pretty high, and she's going to be dealing a lot of critical strike. So we're going to be using critical strike bonuses with her going forwards, which means this whole Air Force setup is in a complete mess at the moment for me. But that's going to change probably in the next 2 months. Love your content. Thanks for the hard work. Keep it up. Yeah, I just I don't. I'm glad that like I can share my knowledge with people. It's I don't like to if I come across something that I need to share, then I have to give that to you guys. I don't like to gatekeep the knowledge, and I'm you know I'm just glad that you guys are finding something out about the game, and you know, I'm happy to help. That's why I'm here. That's why I make these videos. Well, I say videos. This is live stream. Obviously, hello to those of you watching it uh, after, because I just leave these up so anyone can watch them at their leisure, or sit in a truck and drive and listen to my glorious voice while I cough and splutter my way through Christmas. Although that being said, I'm not as bad as I have been over the previous weeks. I'm getting better, by the way, guys. It is very hard for a lot of players to invest in Air Kraken. Very, very hard. But, but, Air is now the most important asset on the board. It is by far the most important asset on the board that you can have. The reason for that is Air is no longer limited to just attacking ground targets. It's also now extended to attacking your naval targets as well. So, by extension, your air can operate in both sides of the theatre, which make them extremely valuable. And there's two ways you can do it. In my opinion, it is just an opinion. I do stress that you can either go for the single fighter double bomber combo to make yourself more effective at attacking perhaps weaker bases, or perhaps attacking larger ground formations, or you can go for the double fighter single bomber combo, where you are more geared towards air superiority while picking off individual targets, which is what I prefer. I prefer to have air superiority. And in this conquest that we've just finished, having my double fighters, even though one's only 6 mil, having them in the sky has enabled the rest of the players in my conquest, in my alliance, to exert dominance with their bombers over enemy ground targets to the point where there was no point in forming an AG while we were online because we could pick it off as soon as it left the safety of bases. And even on more than one occasion, I would just dive on top of it anyway, because when you've got that much air power and that um, strength in your air assets, even anti-air bases and anti-air ground assets are really more of an annoyance than they are a problem. So air is by far, in my opinion, the most important thing on the field for you and for other people right now, especially when you've got, say, a Liberty bomber and you're doing a double bomber combo and you're bombing naval bases, which are perhaps suffering from slightly lower base HP and damage resistance as they're out on the water, as their uh, walls might have been capped. You're able to really capitalize on that and then utilize your Liberty bombers to maximum effect. Maximum effect. Use that strategic power. And you got to remember, you can send them out right across the map, and there is nothing your enemy can do about it if they're not online and they don't see it coming. It's a very, very, very effective tool. You can pick off bases that are builder bases. You can pick off stationary AGs. They're very, very potent pieces of equipment, and they need to be protected by the fighters. The fighters allow you to work unhindered in the air. So, yeah, it's why I get very excited whenever there's a new officer available for the Air Force. It's got nothing to do with the fact that I have an affinity for the Air Force as well, but that in particular, very, very tasty. And just for those of you who are wondering, yes, I have trained in a damage intercept buff. I have also trained in an HP buff on him. And later on, he will be swapping places with Darkwing once once he is awakened, or once Skyjockey is awakened. I don't know. Maybe I'll do him first, move him up, and then bring Darkwing down. That'll give me a degree of leverage in the air that should be potentially unmatched. My air tech is not great. I'm focusing very heavily on Dominion. I know I've been hammering this for about 3 or 4 streams now, but it is coming along quite nicely. I'll give you guys a quick update because I did say follow along for those of you who are following along with the Dominion. And as you can see, we're now approaching the end of phase 1. We're sitting quite neatly here. We've just completed the Camp Liberty firepower of 8%. We're now moving on to the Steel and the Vanguard firepower of an additional 8%, which is also going to play into not just my anti-tank gun and one of my destroyers, but it's going to play into my entire Air Force, which is all Vanguard. So do I think the Vanguard is the best Air Force? No, but it's the Air Force I want for my playstyle. I think it is the best for my playstyle, and that's excuse me. That's very key for you guys to understand your own playstyle, which is why whenever I have an opinion on how an Air Force or how an officer combination works, I am not the be all and end all and the godsend of information because I don't know how you guys play. So I am just giving you my perspective from how I play. And I believe that you guys know yourselves better than me. And also, before we go into the final section of the open Q&A, some time ago, about 2 years ago, I think, I released a video called Power Sickness. And this was very specifically targeted at people who refuse to put officers out onto the field because they're not level 60, because they don't have any skill points, and they're no good as a result. I would like to demonstrate to you guys watching right now. I will talk for those of you who are just listening. Some battle reports. Now, there is an ally in here in this conquest. His name is XVS Viper. He's been an ally. He's been absolutely fantastic. And I've been helping him. And we'll get to the chat because I'll show you guys in a minute. But I want to show you this. So I've deliberately thrown my units at his base here so we can get some battle data. And I want to share said battle data with you as much as possible. So what we're interested in more than anything else is damage taken. Okay, because he wanted to test against my infantry. I was quite openly destructive this conquest. I came first in the FM by a considerable margin, and I managed to get a bit of a reputation as a result. So he wanted me to have a look at his setup. And I said the best way we can do that is with battle data from the battle reports. So here you can see his defensive gun, his main defensive gun, which is the Argent Fist combo on the Martyr gun, is dealing a significant amount of damage. But this RL down here was what he was really concerned with, because it's obviously a counter to infantry. Okay, now his siege gun here is Eye and Champion of the People, bit ick, but we'll let him have it. And it's dealing 11.8 and 8.6 respectively. His RL, on the other hand, is using Vox and Bear, and it's only pumping out 5.2 and 1.9. Bear in mind, it gets a bonus when attacking infantry. Not that great. More importantly, is it not that great? 14 seconds. But that was mostly because of his other artillery guns. Now, if we scroll to the top, 10 seconds. I managed to get him to shave 10 seconds off of the time. Sorry, 4 seconds. I can count. I can count.
Mic off. Mic on.
By changing a few things. Now you'll notice this RL is dealing way more damage. And all we've done is we've put in two level 44 officers. There's no trained skills. There's no gear. There's no statues. There's nothing. And we've managed to pump it up to 7.03 compared to just under that. So we pumped it up. And also I'd like to point out it achieved this this damage output. I think it's slightly ahead. I did give him the figures in the chat. We'll go to that in a second. And you got to remember that's with that's with more time. That's with more time. Okay, that's quite significant. That's with more time, and it's also with gear and trained in skills, neither of which he had. So let's just go to the chat box quickly, because we exchanged okay, here we go. So the original setup, he done 54,432,000 compared to 54 million. Sorry, that was his second attempt, the most recent one with the changes that I recommended. 54 million point 4 versus 54 million point 9. So his original setup was technically better, but that had 4 more seconds on it. So it had gear on it, and it had level 44 officers, and it had trained in didn't have gear, and it didn't have the trained in. So when you take all of these aspects into consideration, it done like 500k less damage, kind of. But if you were allowed another 4 seconds on there and all of the trained skills and all of the gear, that's going to be dealing more damage. This is why I keep saying to people, don't sit around and say, oh, I'm not going to use this officer at all. No. If you're struggling with officers and you're starting effectively from scratch, the best thing you can do is take the officers, your dream officers, the officers you want in your setup, and stick them in your lineup. Okay? Stick them in the order you want them. Once you're at the stage I'm at, where you've got multiple awakened officers and you can swap them around, that's when you start worrying about stuff like, oh, I'm not going to use him right now because it's going to be vastly less efficient. Once, if you're just looking at like, hey, I've got an ATG, but all the officers on it, none of them are awake and none of them are at level 60, put the officers on there now that you want to deal massive amounts of damage with later. Because as you can see here, 54.432, which is what I got him to deal damage with, as I said, with the changes, versus his 54.95 with his original setup. That is different. I mean, we did alter a bunch of other things. That wasn't the only thing we changed, but it was significant because we looked at the RL specifically as well, and that was what was kind of key. That's what it was all built around, was how that RL operates against infantry. So even though this is an air, you know, an air officer, that example should still stand. And the reason why, obviously, Nighthawk is not in place of Darkwing is because Darkwing, while he is awakened and he has no skills, there is no comparison in the damage output. So there's no point in me swapping them around. Plus, I have another 2 officers to choose from should I desire to utilize their skills. And at the moment, the air assets I have in place are extremely potent. So they're only going to get worse over time for people coming up against me in silver. Whew, that was a massively long-winded explanation as to why you need to put the officers in place that you want in place in the order you want them in, rather than saying, I'm not going to do this because I don't have that officer awakened. No, don't do that. Put the fighter officer in that you want. Get round to getting them awake. Do it with your navy. Do it with your ground. Get them in the order you want them, and then every time you awaken one, pick another one to awaken next. Oh, I played more ground, pick another ground. I need more air support, pick an air. I played more navy this time, do a navy. And that's how you do it. It should take you about 6 to 8 weeks to get an officer awakened if you're hitting your lucky wheel and maxing it out to 100 only every single time. This appears once every 3 weeks. I as you can see, I no longer have any additional things. I can't even show you, but I have no additional subscriptions running at the minute, so I am free to play. So that 268,000 gold that's up there, I have got as a free to play. You can do it if you are hitting your jurisdictions on the regular and you're doing them on the correct days. Yeah, Nighthawk and Bladewing are more than likely going to kill things faster than anything else on the field. That's why I think they're going to be absolutely amazing in a Liberty setup, because you're going to be able to capitalize on that firepower to push that skill damage even higher and then just kill things even faster. It's going to be insane. It'll be utterly insane. We have all the wings. We have the Blade Wing, we have the Dark Wing, and it will be Nighthawk next. Nighthawk, man, I'll tell you what, once he's awakened, if I get a conquest with him just for you guys, if this really does just pan out to be just a absolute shit show for the enemy, I will start recording some of it and I will try to upload some of it. I did record a little bit of the PvP during this conquest that's just gone, but I do not have the time to sit down and edit. I barely got the time to sit down and do these streams. I get a couple of hours each evening, and as you can imagine, I have 101 things vying for my attention. and none of it. I don't get to all of it. So, but I did want to get this video out because next week it's going to be Christmas, obviously, and um, I'm not expecting to be able to do a stream at all next week. I'm sure I might get one day, maybe on the 23rd, possibly, where I can get a day out to do another stream, and I'll probably look at a specific setup for something then. One van, one Marty. Yeah, two two FPs. Yeah, Vanguard and Marty. That is pretty nasty. I've seen a lot of Martyr players pumping maneuverability for their planes and shields, and then basically just using them as blocking units. So you just fly it into a fight, let that fighter soak up some damage, get some attention, and then you just bring in the additional fighter to basically go ham. It's nasty. Like they are pretty vicious. And if you're doing like a one fighter two bomber combo, I'd definitely recommend a Martyr because you want that sustainability, that constant ability to stay alive. You want shields, and it's exactly how you do it. Yeah, yeah. Man knows. He knows how to play. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly what I'd be doing as well if I had a Martyr. I'd just be sending the Martyr in, let it soak up some heat, and then just bringing the Vanguard or a Liberty in behind it and just gunning everything else down with the high levels of intercept and firepower. It's unmatched because the maneuverability bonuses at the moment for Martyr are just so high. You get so much of it in the tech tree as well. If you, especially if you start doing Air Force tech, it's insane. You get so many different maneuverability bonuses. Um, uh, Reduced bombing interval, intercept bonus, AA firepower, fighter plane HP, troop damage intensity, maneuverability. There you go. That's 4% a level. That's a bomber maneuverability. And then, of course, we get a firepower increase for every 5 seconds, up to 25% until they leave battle. So obviously, if you're just staying in combat, you're just going to get more and more powerful, more, you know. And then on top of that, Cobra maneuver, whenever your fighter planes are attacked, there's a 10% chance to increase their maneuverability by an additional 30%. And then on top of that, you get enhanced maneuverability and a damage absorption reduction of 15%. So, it reduces the damage taken from fighter planes by 15%. On top of the maneuverability, is making this just like the most OP thing in the sky. If you deploy two camps, you get a 33% damage resist buff versus 31%. Never use the Martyr unless I'm bombing a base. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the bombers bombing bases is hit and miss whether or not you're coming up against a weak enough target to get away with it. It's not just for Vanguard or Martyr, but literally any of the officers, any of the bombers, including the Liberty one. I mean, you can deal massive amounts of damage, sure, but if you're losing one or two units every single run, it suddenly becomes unviable, and it's taking you half an hour to wipe out a base. I mean, is it really worth it at that stage? So it's a yeah, it's not very great. That's why if you're running multiple bombers, that's when I'd really go after bases. But that being said, you can still go after the weaker little builder ones, can't you? As you can see here, we do have a critical strike damage increase on this officer. That will be getting switched over. Any chance you know why a bomber is taking damage although I tank from a martyr FP? Um, well, best guess would be target reset. Um, I don't think there's any mechanics in the game which allow the base to reset without player intervention. So perhaps if there was a light tank in the base, then maybe that was able to do a splash attack. Without seeing the battle report, I couldn't comment personally, but the base itself um, only targets an individual unit. So if there was a light tank in there that perhaps, say, had um, Lady Shadow on, who's able to splash target, then yeah, you could totally hit both units that are in the sky above your base. Oh, there's splash damage over the base now, says Kraken. Okay, well, see, I didn't know that. I should read the patch notes. You see, here's the thing, right? I'm on the creators team. I have access to all this information. I never bother going to read it. I'm a terrible content creator. I am awful. Yeah. Well, like Kraken said, there's a likelihood that with the change, there's splash damage being dealt to all units above the base. So you can mitigate that obviously with the fighters, but you're not going to be able to stop it. It's all for fun. There's many things that are fun. Hello there. You've arrived late in the day, but I am still here nonetheless. Um, yeah, it is all for fun. I basically get all of my information through trial and error. I don't bother reading the patch notes unless there's something in there that I don't understand. I Because I don't bomb bases, I would not have noticed that specific mechanic. So consider me educated in my own stream. There you go. Just goes to show that I do not know everything and that you should take all of your information for this game from multiple sources at all times. Never, ever, ever settle on just my word for saying a setup is good, because I could be talking complete and utter bollocks, which does happen an awful lot. That's why I gas so long on a live stream. You were busy today. That sounds like excuses. I'm not going to lie. That sounds like a lot of excuses. So yeah, do we have any other questions? Any other queries? Any other suggestions? Things that you guys want to look at before I depart from the stream? So I can drink my white monster entirely, crush it against my head, and then I don't know, put on the hunt for Red October while I play 6 days in Fallujah. Or maybe something else. I'll be over in Discord doing that, by the way, for those of you on my Discord. Actually, do I need to level up any of my gear? I'll level that up some more. Seeing as we have the capacity to do so. And we'll level that up as well, why not? No, I'm not interested in that. Go away. Well, guys, I will take your resounding silence with no more questions, as you have had enough of my yapping. It's been 45 minutes, so it's been nice. I will be leaving this alliance paper for those of you watching from S29, server 29, um, in in a day or two. I will then be looking for a gold level alliance to simply get my key. I'm not going to be, don't expect me to be pulling uh, anything like, this, for example. I'm not going to be that active. I want to play some other games over the Christmas period. So if you are on server 29 and you want me to basically DOS in your alliance, the option is now available for one entire conquest. If not, I'll just go stick my application back into SSF, and I'm sure one of them will pick it up and accept me. But thank you all very much for watching. I've been the Smoking Cheddar, and you have been very patient. As always, a link to the Discord will be in the description box down below. There is also a link to Cats Protection UK should you feel generous enough to donate to an animal shelter. If you decide to do a donation and you don't want to do it internationally, please pick a charity that is close to your own home and your own heart and just kick in a fiver because, it's Christmas and we can all do things to make life better for animals and other people around the world. So, yeah, on that note, I'm going to bomb the rest of this monster down my neck and it'll send me to sleep because it does that. It's caffeine. It's only 150 milligrams. It's not going to send my heart into overdrive. I will just fall asleep. But while I do that, I am going to play some first-person shooters over on my Discord. So I will see you guys later. Or maybe some Helldivers.